If gardening is on your mind and you're curious about how you can do it with all the kiddo activities and fun that you have going on in the summer, I want to share with you my top 10 list of things to have a thriving garden that are going to fit in between baseball practice, household chores, and that summer fun. And for those of you that hang out all the way to the end, I have an amazing giveaway to jumpstart your summer garden. So don't go anywhere. The first hack we're going to talk about today is to use a garden planner. Now, I know for some this might seem super obvious, but there are so many choices when it comes to planners that it's really important to take just a minute to go over a couple of the options out there. When I first got started, in my brain, I needed to flip over all of those seed packets and map out on a calendar when everything goes in, whether it's 8 weeks or 12 weeks before your last frost date and when is the frost date and all of those kinds of things. And having a garden planner will really streamline and take hours of work away from you just from getting that planner started in the beginning. I personally love a handheld planner from Clyde's. It's called Clyde's Garden Planner. I will link the Amazon link to that down below for anybody that's interested in taking a look, but it tells you when to start your seedlings indoors, when to transplant them out, and all of the tips that go along for both spring and fall gardening. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more techy, I would recommend looking into some of the planner apps that are available in the App Store. One really good one is Planter, and another one is from Seed to Spoon. Both will help you track your planting dates, give you any frost warnings, which is huge, and also help you know what can be planted next to each other and help you kind of map out in your garden where everything is going to go. This is a super big help to keep your garden organized. If you don't use an app that will help you keep that organization, I definitely recommend making your own map and drawing out where you placed every individual plant. I know it seems really obvious, like what's going to go where, but it really isn't. At the end, there are things that you're going to forget, especially if you plant several different varieties of tomatoes, which I always do. So having that map and everything written down just to go back and reference is a really, really huge asset. So make sure to make one. And also you might take a second copy or put yours somewhere very safe to make sure that it doesn't get damaged in any way throughout the growing season. Now, just as a quick aside, I do want to point out the strawberries that I'm planting. These are the only plants that will be in my garden that I did not start from seed. So it's a little odd actually to go purchase plants after you've grown everything from seed. Even just looking at the value of the plants and how many you can get for that seed packet makes a really big impact when you've grown your other stuff at home. If you are new to gardening, don't hesitate to grab a couple plants from the nursery. But if gardening is something that you're passionate about or wanting to get deeper into, I would highly recommend starting your plants from seed. You will save an insane amount of money when doing so. A packet of seeds with anywhere from, depending on the type, but like 10 to 100 seeds will run you about $3. And one of these flower pots, which had 5 different strawberry plants in it, cost me $20 all on its own. So I know you can find things at different variety of prices, but when you're able to go ahead, start from seed and grow your own at home, the reduction in expenses is a major win. The second hack I want to share with you today is so simple and so basic, but so important all at the same time. Grow what you eat. If your family does not like some sort of exotic food, don't grow it. Also, if you don't like something basic that everybody else loves, you still don't have to have it. For me, that's okra. I don't grow it. I'm not interested. I don't want any part of it, no matter how prolific it is. And same for zucchini. It's a no for me. But it's really important to take a step back and think about what's going to serve your family. The strawberry plants that I'm putting in right now will definitely serve my family. My kids absolutely love berries, and we purchase them nonstop. So this one will be a big win. We also only keep things like tomatoes, onions, garlic, and peppers as mainstays in our garden. There have been years in the past where I picked up a few favorites that were favorites, I should say in quotes, big ones for people that I'd watch online, and it would turn out to be absolutely a no for us. And we wasted all the planting space that would go along with a specific plant that we had no interest in eating. One perfect example of that is the cucamelon. It's one that I picked up from rareseeds.com after watching a couple different YouTubers really just gloating over how much they loved it and what a great little burst of flavor it was out in the garden. And since my family really loves to pick certain fruits and eat them when they're out in the garden, I thought this would be a great ad. But let me tell you, I was absolutely wrong. I can't be the only one who's ever been through this. So if you have planted something in your garden and regretted it, make sure to drop it below because it might help somebody else avoid something that they really don't need to be wasting their time on. The grander point here is if there is something specific that everybody generally would plant in a garden, you need to really take the time to think about if it will work for your family and also kind of limit how much you plant based on how much your family eats. I know my brother and sister-in-law don't eat many tomatoes at all, so they grow very few, while I have about 25 in my garden here for my family of 7. So really take stock of what's going to be the best benefit for you and your family and what you purchase most at the store to see if you can bring that home to your own garden. Tip number 3 is a big one, and it's often a term that is really misunderstood by new gardeners. You need to mulch your garden beds. Now, I don't mean mulch as in like put a whole bunch of really chopped up wood chips or going to purchase an actual bag of mulch from your local home goods store. What we're looking for here is something that is going to cover the soil completely, which is going to help prevent things from taking root or seeds from like falling off a tree, for example, or nearby plants from just blowing in, taking root and growing in your garden. Here I'm using a straw. This is actually a specific garden straw, has all of the seeds completely removed and is cut small enough to really easily fit around their plants. It's also organic. Now, this isn't something that is absolutely necessary, and I highly recommend everybody do your own research and figure out if that is something that is super interesting for you. For me, the main reason that I did it is because I went to all of this work to get my new garden beds, to be very cautious on the soil that went in, and I did not want a chance putting in some straw that could have been sprayed when it was harvested from the field. The last thing I wanted to do was top all of my hard work off from all of the seeds that I planted with something that could actually damage them, and not just damage them now, but also to damage the soil for a really long time to come. That's why I went with the garden straw that I did. Again, I will make sure to drop everything that I'm using down below for anybody that has specific questions about why or what. Now, another amazing, huge benefit to mulching is that your soil stays damp longer, so you have to water less. This is a huge deal for a busy mom. I cannot tell you how many times before I started doing this, I would come home late from a baseball game and be outside in the dark hand watering my garden. Having the mulch down and being able to trap that moisture underneath, as well as preventing the sun from directly beating down on the soil to help dry it out faster, is a huge win for anybody looking to save time. Now, there are a multitude of other options when it comes to what you can mulch with. In the past, I have used some leaves, chopped up leaves from the year before. I've also used some grass clippings and things of that nature. But what I did find was that sometimes there would be a lot of bugs that had laid eggs in the leaves that I didn't know about, or maybe something would sprout from coming from a seed that was left in the mix between the leaves and the grass. So for me, I wanted to give this a go this year, and I have been pleasantly surprised so far with how it's worked out. Hack number 4 is to use raised beds or containers for your gardening. Now, I have gardened for several years just in the ground right behind the chain link fence that you're seeing there over by my kids' basketball court. But when I was gardening on the ground, it was a lot of bending over, a ton of weeds. And it was a lot harder to set up because every single year we had to retop our bed areas, plus go ahead and do more mulch on the walkways. While the mulch would kind of keep the weeds at bay at first, over the winter season, every single year, the grass would creep into all of those mulch areas to the point where they needed to be completely redone. That is the reason why you don't see mulch in between the beds that I have set up right now. My husband and I talked about it, and he was definitely willing to do it. He thought it looked really nice, but I asked if we could just seed the area and go to grass. Now, yes, there will be a little bit of maintenance with mowing, but there will be much less maintenance overall. Plus, my kids can take off their shoes once the grass gets all grown in and have an opportunity to do some grounding while our hands are in the soil. Now, for some of you, that might sound a little out there. My husband actually got a good laugh out of it when I said it, but it is so important to keep us connected to the earth and really kind of root our bodies and our hands in nature, that it was really important to me to go to grass instead of mulch just for the purpose of being able to take off our shoes and have less maintenance year after year. When it comes to raised beds and container gardening, there are a ton of options out there on the market. You can grow in everything from a kiddie pool to a mineral barrel, and all the farmers will know what that is, and everything in between. The bulk of my beds this year are the 17-inch novel garden beds from Vago Garden in sunlit oak. I absolutely love the texture of the wood grain on there and the convenience of knowing that they're going to be metal, they're going to last a very, very long time, and that they have very safe paint that's passed all of the testing to make sure that what we're using in our garden is going to be safe. But that's not the only thing you can use for raised bed gardens, of course. You'll see right there behind me, kind of back below there, I actually have a bunch of grow bags. These are cloth bags that are made specifically for growing. They have all of my potatoes in them. The reason I did potatoes in grow bags is because in years past, I've had a hard time making sure that I was getting all of the potatoes up when I was harvesting, and putting these in grow bags means none of them are going to be outside of that bag space. We can actually dump them in a wheelbarrow and then go ahead and pull out all of the potatoes that are in there, going ahead and continuing to keep the compost that is in there. Now, my immediate plan is to take that compost and dump it on top of the beds that you see right here. The soil does settle the first year that you go ahead and fill them up. So this will help me top off with something that I already have on hand. There is a downside to raised bed gardens that I do want to go ahead and discuss while we're here, and that is the cost to fill them. If you just put straight potting soil or topsoil in these, or purchase bagged soil from your local retailer, filling one of these beds is going to cost a ton of money, let alone filling 8, which is what we have today. What we went ahead and did was got a dump trailer from a local rental place and went to a local city that is close that has a big composting operation. They take all of the fallen trees and just yard waste that comes in all year long and go ahead and mulch it up. And they have really, really good compost ready every single spring for people who are putting in gardens. The advantage of being able to purchase in bulk like that will save you a ton of money. We were actually able to fill all of these beds for less than I was able to fill that 2x6 strawberry bed that I started with earlier. If you are not comfortable renting a trailer or don't have somebody that can help you out with that, you'll always have the option to get soil delivered. Facebook Marketplace is a really great resource for finding people who will deliver to you locally. I have actually used a supplier off there a few years in a row, except this year I didn't need to have mushroom compost delivered, which has been really, really great for my garden in years past. So I'm hoping I still have that same great turnout with the setup that I have today. Time will tell on that, so we'll see what happens next year. But if you're interested in seeing how this turns out, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hang out, because gardening content is something that I plan to share more and more of this summer. Now, while I've been chatting away, I've been tying up my tomatoes. If you're curious at all about how I prune my tomatoes and why I prune them so heavily when they're little, or how I keep them attached to the trellises, make sure to let me know down below, and that's something I can consider sharing more with you on a little bit later in the season. I also do similar yet different pruning to my peppers, which is what I'm tackling now. I actually have 18 different pepper varieties, I have 18 different pepper plants here of about 8 different varieties. So I'm interested to see how this bed progresses over the season, but I think it's going to be awesome. Before we jump into the next hack, I want to show you one quick thing here, and that is how easy different weeds can be to come right out of this loose soil that comes with raised beds. Now, you will notice that there are a couple of very fine little grass blades that are growing up in the soil. And what I like to do is grab them gently at the base and slowly just kind of work them back and forth until I can feel that full root start to let go. When it does, then I know I have it. And I just go ahead and pull that straight out of the soil, making sure that the whole root's intact and it's not something I'll have to deal with in the future. When I used to plant in the ground, I can tell you it was a lot harder than this to do my weeding. And also, since the soil is so new and clean, it's not something that I will have to do on repeat. Like when I was trying to manage the nasty Bermuda grass that kept creeping into my in-ground beds. Hack number 5 is to use scraps to increase the nutrient content of your soil. Now, what I'm doing right here might seem a little odd for this topic, but I have to tell you a funny story about this. My boys have really been successful this spring when they've been out fishing and have been bringing back all of their scraps to help nourish the garden soil. Now, this might seem a little bit odd, but you can actually purchase a lot of fish emulsions on the market. So having them just bury their scraps right in the middle of the soil before it's planted is actually a huge boost. But the key phrase is before the garden is planted. Well, this bed, I had actually planted some sugar snap peas in along that trellis that you can see there, but they didn't know that. So they came home, they dug in the bed, and I could tell the next day, like, those seeds are a goner, like they're totally displaced. So I have been constantly finding these little seedlings sprouted, a foot from where they belong and having to transplant them right back to where they go. But I can tell you that the nutrient content that is being added to these beds by burying our scraps is huge. Another good way to do this is with your table scraps. Now, we actually take ours and put them inside a countertop composter and bring them out in the form of dry, light compost to add directly to the beds. But you can also just bring your scraps out and bury them. This works exceptionally well if you don't have the mulch layer down, because you can just find a little area, bury them, and you won't be any of the wiser. If you are burying them and you do have the mulch layer down, make sure to pull that mulch to the side, dig your area where you're going to bury your scraps, and then push your mulch back on top. Otherwise, your soil can get mixed in with your mulch layer. As you can see here, I have a little bit of that down here on front because I laid that sugar snap pea down. I wish I wouldn't have done that. But anyway, it's not a problem whatsoever. It's just that I'm kind of picky about the way it looks. And since I have the rest of it mulched perfectly, it is something that I wanted to try to clean up. So I grabbed the majority of it, got it out of the way, and then covered it with a little more mulch to make sure that my tracks have been covered. The area where the sugar snap was is actually where I have my basil patch this year. And here you can see I'm going ahead and topping a dark opal basil. The reason that you want to take that center stalk off when they're little is to make sure that they grow in a more bushy habit instead of growing super tall, which can make them a little less strong along the way. If you just take that tall center stalk off, it leaves two leaves branching up, and that really helps to kind of change the way it grows because you don't have that tall shoot right out of the top. So I hope that little tip's helpful. Just something that I love to add in. And I will just put a plug in here. A variety of basil is definitely something you should do. Basil tea is delicious, even if you're not a fan of pesto, which, I mean, really, who isn't a fan of pesto? Now, what are my boys doing, you might ask? They are actually wheeling out the newest garden bed that we have here at the house, which is the elevated garden bed from our friends at Vago Garden. They actually also happen to be allowing me to give one away to one of my awesome viewers today. So I want to take just a minute to tell you what it is, why I love it, and why you are going to want to win it. The elevated beds are a part of an awesome collection that makes it easier to have raised beds using less soil. They have a 20-year lifespan, hold up to 700 pounds. And they are perfect for patios, decks, and tight spaces because they can help transform those areas into lush gardens. This thing is so durable and it's really, really easy to use. And with the wheels, which are an option that you can add, it is really easy to move. You'll see that here in a minute because my guys had a ton of fun with this thing. But I have been super impressed with the quality and the strength of the wheels themselves. When I first put it together, I could not believe how easily it rolls. And as you'll see here momentarily, my 12-year-old is actually, he's 11. My 11-year-old is able to take this thing for a spin with no problems. So if you are somebody who has issues with mobility or you have an area where you might need to move your garden bed around, this thing is amazing. And it also has a great shelf underneath, which happens to make keeping your supplies really, really easy right in hand. So the question is, how do you enter and what exactly are we giving away? Well, the bed that we're going to give away is a 2x4 in pearl white, and it comes with the upgraded wheels. To enter the giveaway, you need to be subscribed to my channel. You need to like this video, and you need to comment below sharing why you love a Vago elevated garden bed. All contestants must be 18 years or older to win. It is open to U.S. and Canadian residents with no purchase necessary to enter. The giveaway is not sponsored in any way or endorsed by YouTube, and Vago Garden is providing the giveaway as the prize. The winner will be announced May 18th right here on the channel. So make sure you come back and share this video with anybody you think might be interested. And I would like to thank our friends at Vago Garden for sponsoring this giveaway and also for sponsoring today's video. Busy mom hack number 6 for keeping your garden in check and your summer moving along at a good speed is to involve the kids. As you can see, they have so much fun when they're out and involved in doing an activity with mom or dad, as the situation may be. My little one here is my Johnny on the spot helper in my kitchen, and she also can't wait to be involved in everything going on in the garden. As you'll see here, it doesn't take her half a second to realize that she can separate onion seedlings all by herself. So she's popping these out and she just watches me and does exactly what I'm doing. The added value and advantage of having your kids involved in the garden is they're willing to try about anything that they help in growing. I have been amazed with the absolute interest that my kids have in taking the first bite of something that comes off the vine, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Hack number 7 will save you a ton of time year after year, and that is to plant once and harvest often. Things like the strawberries we put in earlier, or lettuce that you can cut and come again, or even asparagus, which you plant once and then harvest in 3 years or so, depending on when you actually plant the crowns. They will serve you for years. Hack number 8 is to keep your tools close. The last thing you want to do is be running off all of the time looking for a shovel or a seed packet or whatever you have going on. Here I brought out my whole tray, kept them right there where I was at, and had them ready to go. I also keep all of my supplies right inside my garage because it's right next to my garden. When my garden was in the back, I kept those in a different location to make them easier to access. Tip number 8 has to do with watering. Watering is the single thing that takes up the most time if you hand water. The reason it takes up so much time is because you do it on repeat over and over and over again. It's not like initially planting out all your plants or, taking the time to harvest, because watering has to be done so often that it can really be time consuming. There are times, like I mentioned before, when I would spend an hour in the garden watering after we got home from a late baseball game. And that is just something that I've had the goal to stop doing for a long time. So I want to share with you what I decided to do this year, which is to install irrigation. There are a ton of different ways to do irrigation depending on what style of beds that you have, whether it's in ground or above ground. But one thing that remains fact is that it saves an insane amount of time. Now, the irrigation that I have here right now has a multitude of different ways to actually water. I can bend these little heads and kind of turn that little gold tip, and it will give me a direct stream on a specific plant root, or I can turn them all the way to a mist. So it really is everything in between, and it's been really nice to be able to direct to the specific plants that I want to put them on, and it was super simple to put together. But not everybody has the setup that I have, and I will admit this is an absolute dream garden. I've waited many years to get this, and I definitely don't recommend somebody starting out like I'm starting out right now. So another way to work on irrigation is something as simple as a soaker hose, which you can pick up at any local Home Depot, Lowe's, or anything of the kind. Running soaker hose through your plants is a very simple way to start watering without all of the effort and time that goes into it. Another thing that you can consider doing is adding a timer. That takes it to a whole new level of effortless and gives you a ton of time back in your life because it can be watering while you're asleep. That's not something we've done yet, but it definitely is something on my list. The 10th hack that I'm going to share with you today is something that I find so annoying, or always did when I heard about people starting gardens, and that is to prep your beds in the fall. Now, did I do this year? No. Have I done it in the past? Yes. It makes a huge difference in getting started. It allows you to get the early jump on everything going on, but don't think that you're too late if you haven't already started right now. You can put in beautiful beds and have a very successful garden, even if you start in the spring. For those that have the time or are thinking about what they can do for next fall, go ahead and top your beds with compost, which is what you're seeing us dump here, and mulch over your entire beds for the garden season. Then in the spring, all you have to do is go ahead, pull that mulch back and start planting. This also helps your soil to be soaked with the winter snows and be really moist and not in just a really hard, dry state when it comes time to start gardening in the spring. And you also don't have to go back and do all of the cleanup that you didn't do in the fall. Okay, ladies, so that is my top 10 tips. So if you're short on time but still want to have a little garden magic at your house, make sure to pick 1 or 2 of these little hacks to get started. Trust me, even small changes can make a huge difference in your garden. And before we go, I do want to ask, which hack was your favorite, or which hack are you going to try first? Make sure to drop it in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if this is helpful, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. And make sure you don't miss out on the giveaway for this elevated garden bed. It is really, really cool, and I can't wait to see what you plan in it at your house. Thanks again for stopping by, friends, and I'll see you back soon.